What's up, college sports fans? I'm Stucky.
I'm Colin Wilson.
I'm Mike Calabrese.
I'm Maria Marino.
I'm Charlie DiSturco, and we're excited that the Big Bets on Campus brand is launching its very own YouTube channel.
You'll be able to find every episode of the BBOC podcast, live shows, and other college sports content on this new channel.
Not only will the channel be dedicated to betting on college sports, but you'll also be able to find exclusive interviews with former college athletes,
college football power rankings,
and updates on other topics like the brand new College Football 25 video game series and the ins and outs of the recruiting trail all the way down to the transfer portal.
Whether you're into college football,
college basketball,
college baseball, or any of the college sports,
we are the home for college sports, and BBOC is the channel for you.
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. I'll see you there.
Welcome to Buckets, Action Network's basketball betting podcast presented by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. I'm your host, Joe Dellera, and I'm joined by Brian Fonseca. This is your men's Olympic basketball quarterfinals betting preview. Brian and I are going to discuss the remaining teams and where we're seeing value in the knockout rounds. We also have an episode focused on the women's quarterfinals that's out right now on the Buckets WNBA podcast feed, so you can check that out as well. These quarterfinal games will be on Tuesday, August 6th, so let's get into it. Brian, we've got a nice slate of games coming up here. We've got Germany versus Greece, Serbia versus Australia, Canada versus France, and Team USA versus Brazil. All of these games are happening in one day, so it's a pretty jam-packed day. You're going to have to wake up a little early, honestly. But the first game that we have on the slate, we have Germany versus Greece. Germany's an 8-point favorite. Brian, what are you thinking about this game? Did anything stand out to you off the bat?
Well, and we'll talk about this. I wonder if Greece is going to have enough offensively. The answer is probably no, but I just wonder if they will because, and here's why the answer could be yes for a one-game sample. The fact that it's a one-game sample helps. And then also, they need to hit shots around Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, this is something that I had tracked in qualifiers where Greece is a little more top-heavy than you would want them to be. And then they typically are. Like, they have other players on this team who are good. We've talked about Georgios Papagiannis at different points, and Thomas Walkup's been inconsistent, and Nick Calathes is their playmaker, but he doesn't always score the basketball the way that they need him to, it feels like. And I just wonder about the three-point shooting around Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Germany just looks like the second best team in this Olympics. Like, they look really good. They look like if they were going to play USA in the final, which we actually could get based on how the brackets are laid out, that I think there will be a fair amount of people that would entertain a Germany upset, considering how they've been internationally. And they were third place in Eurobasket a couple years ago, won the World Cup last year. They haven't lost a game internationally, a game that mattered internationally since the Eurobasket. So they've been that good for 2 years.
Yeah, Germany has been incredible, honestly. And I think we all undervalued them a little bit. You know, like, they do have a ton of continuity. Obviously, the Wagner brothers have played a ton of games together. Dennis Schroeder's played a lot of games with them. Daniel Tice as well. You do have a lot of NBA talent on a roster like that. Whereas with Greece, you're looking at a team that is really just entirely focused on Giannis Antetokounmpo. And like you mentioned with Giannis, it's definitely a little bit tougher because he's not a guy that's got a bag. He can go in like full halfback dive mode, but he's not going to be somebody, you know, especially with, he's not somebody that's going to knock down threes for you. They're going to give him that space. It's a little bit of a tougher scenario. He's obviously a wrecking ball. And I think that that's really what you're looking at when you're looking at Greece. You're saying like, all right, well, do they have anything or can they surround him with anything? I know personally, I was looking for a spot for Giannis. Like, I wanted to grab his assists. I was trying to wait till the show to put it out. It opened at 3.5 this morning. I bet that, was waiting to log it. And then here we are. We're at 4.5. I don't mind it still. I do think that we might see a little bit of what Australia did against him, which was really like they were crashing on him as he was driving into the paint, and then he was kicking the ball out. But that's where they did find some success with guys like Thomas Walkup, 4 for 7 from 3. Given the fact that you don't really think that that maybe is like replicable, Brian, what's your best bet? Like, how are you going to bet this game?
Well, the first thing is, like, I looked at the Giannis assists also. They were at 4.5. I still may or may not go there. We'll see. But in order to get there, Greece has to make shots. So then I look at, all right, 3-point props, logically, which players from Greece are going to hit these threes that they're going to try to generate. Nick Kalathis is plus 155 to hit 2. Do I feel great about that? Not really. And Thomas Walkup is plus 100 at one book to hit over 1.5. Am I gonna do that with confidence, even based on what you just said? No, because there was a time or two during qualifiers where we took him over 8.5 points and he did virtually nothing. Yeah. Even though he's consistently supposed to be one of their guys. So like this is kind of what happens. And then the other examples are juice, like Kostas Papanikolaou is like minus 150, minus 140 in that range. And it's like, I don't know if I want to lay that necessarily. So I just went and was like, Germany's better. Germany's been whooping teams' asses in the first half, except for Brazil, but then they did it in the second half. But Brazil first half minus 4.5. That's where I'm at with this game. I kind of like the minus 8 for the game, but I prefer, and this has sort of been working for me for the most part, these first half spreads, I've been targeting them more. The better teams do tend to get off to good starts, and Germany wastes no time. Like, they're going to push the pace. They're going to spread the ball around. They're going to try to bully Greece, even with two bigs on the inside. They're going to try to really be forceful on the interior. Like, I think this is a game where Germany just has too much for Greece if it goes according to game script. But let's remember, we are in the March Madness portion of this tournament. Anything can happen. So I'll conclude rather with that.
Yeah, I do like Germany. I was looking at Franz Wagner, looking at his points prop. It's at 21.5. It's a little rich for me, to be honest with you. So he's not a guy, like, he's been awesome, but he's not somebody that I'm looking for. And I'm going to be like, yeah, like, I definitely want to bet on this guy to score over 20 points because he can make his impact felt and known without even getting to 20 points. So for me, I was looking at a prop. If you guys saw it on X, we nuked this line the other day, and we were hoping to hit it. Johannes Voigtman, him to be the rebounding leader in the last game. That line, it was offered at 200 to 1. We're now looking at plus 400. So we're not going to do that, but we are going to be betting over 5.5 rebounds. So he actually missed this last game against France. But if we look at all of his other international games this year with the German national team, he's actually exceeded this in every single game. He's had only 6 in one game, actually. He's had 7 or more in every single other one. So he's played a number of games, obviously beyond just the 3 in the Olympics so far. And they played a bunch of preparatory games. He's basically playing 20 minutes a game as the floor. And I think that we're going to see plenty of opportunity for him here against a team like Greece, where Giannis can get your bigs into foul trouble. Like, he can get a Daniel Tice into foul trouble. And then they do run a multi-big lineup. So I like the over 5.5. It dropped from it wasn't really widely available. It was at 6.5 last game. It's at 5.5 this game. I think it's a great buyback opportunity on Johannes Voigtman for this game. So I'm going to be grabbing over 5.5 rebounds and backing the extra big for the German national team.
I found on the market Germany first half minus 3.5. So we're gonna go with that 4.5. We just saw it minus 120. I'm like, that's good enough for me. So we're gonna hit that one instead of the minus 4.5.
Yeah, this should be a pretty good game. I'm happy that we put out a play before the tournament started, and we had Germany over Greece head to head in terms of tournament length that they were going to be in the tournament. So this is a great opportunity. Now we basically have a team that's like minus 350 on the money line, and we have it at plus 146 because we had a little parlay with Brazil over Japan. So this is a nice spot for us. We're going to be rooting for Germany. And I'm excited to see who Germany is going to wind up playing, because when we look at continue to look at the bracket, we're getting some really good games. But we're going to jump over to the other side of the bracket here, and we're going to be looking at the next game chronologically, or at least, in terms of how they're playing throughout the day. And we've got Serbia as a 7-point favorite against Australia. Australia was one of our favorite teams coming into the tournament. We were saying, they had some juice to maybe win the group. they really had a little bit of a struggle. They lost some really close games. They felt like they felt better than their record, I would say. Brian, when you saw the spread as Serbia -7, I feel like you had some thoughts off the bat.
Yeah, my knee-jerk reaction was, "Oh, that's too much." Then I thought about it more, and I was like, "I'm still not going to play it though." Like these single elimination things just sort of scare you, and to me, like if I can criticize myself, like yeah, I sometimes I feel like I should take the shot, even when like even when I feel like I shouldn't. Like just go for it, right? Because I'll say something's going to happen, or I'll have an instinct and then I'll be like, you know what, but I'm gonna stay away from it. And then what it plays out, I mean, it plays out the way that I thought it was going to. And that's like our joke about like, you know, when you don't lock a bet in the app, it hits.
It's a lock.
It's every goddamn time. It's every goddamn time. This has happened to me. This happened to me multiple times in the tournament. It's infuriating. So I thought the line was too much, and immediately I was like, okay, Nikola Jokic rebounds. It was at 11.5, and one spot had it at 10.5, and it was -160, and I was like, that's not what I want to do here. But found an opportunity to get him at rebounds leader for -155, which is still juice, but I'm not married to 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, whatever the case may be, in a game where second on that list is likely to be Jock Landale, maybe Josh Giddey. Who are we talking about here? Australia is a very tough team. They're not an appreciably big team. And Nikola Jokic, if you saw how he played against South Sudan, I think we're going to get sort of a similar output here. And maybe usage, of course. He had a double-double in that game. His PRA was close to 40. I don't think it was quite 40. I think it may have been 39, but it was in that neighborhood regardless. And the PRA for this game is 40.5, by the way, if you're interested in that. But to me, Jokic, rebounds leader, this is the spot. The only game he didn't hit double digits on, and both times he hit double digits, he went way over double digits. He had 13 against South Sudan, and I believe he had 15 against Puerto Rico, which I told y'all that was going to happen. But, you know, those are my guys, but my guys are small. And with Team USA in that game, he didn't get anywhere near 10. And the reason is because Team USA couldn't miss. I don't think Australia is going to not miss. They can shoot the ball well, but I don't think it's going to be one of those things. So yeah, Jokic rebounds leader. I'll take the juice. I'm fine with it. I think this is going to hit.
Yeah, I like this spot because I mean Landale's been awesome for us. He's been the cash cow. He's actually leading the team in scoring right now, but a lot of those points are off of those like tip ins. So like I was looking at it kind of cuts both ways, right? Because I love this play for Jokic. They had him at 8.5 a couple games ago. That was nuts, right? Now we've got
a Puerto Rico game.
Yeah, it's crazy. So this makes sense that like we're seeing this trend upward. I do agree with you, Brian, that I think the PRA might be a touch like high, but you actually can grab him to get a triple double at about 5-1. And I actually think that that's like less. I'd rather bet that at 5-1 than 40.5 on the PRA. Like to me, that the PRA line almost like implies a triple double. Like obviously you have to get the exact stats, but when we're seeing the way the line is, it's basically like 7.5 assists, 11.5 or 10.5 boards, and 20.5 points. So like that's like a perfect Jokic triple double scenario. So I do agree with you. I like Jokic in this game. I think that that's definitely the way to go. The one thing I will say is, are you like, how convinced are you that Serbia actually wins this game?
The game against South Sudan was not surprising. I thought that South Sudan could cover.
Yeah.
Which is another bet that I should have made because I was telling you during the week, I was like, man, 13.5, 15.5, I don't know. And I didn't end up playing it because I'm a coward. Serbia also, like, they beat down Puerto Rico. That's just a amazing matchup for them. Because that's how Lithuania wanted to play Puerto Rico in qualifiers. The thing is, Puerto Rico shot their lights out, and Lithuania is not as good. And Serbia against Team USA, I think if they played again, that wouldn't go down like that. I think it'd be a closer game. Just, you know, abnormal shooting on both sides. One team was like 60 something percent from three for a bunch of the game, and the other team was in the low 20s for a lot of it. I don't know who's going to win this game. I do think that the 7 is kind of a lot. Like I'm very much tempted by, and they're out there in the market. There's a 7.5. I'm very much tempted to take Australia to cover.
Yeah.
So I'm either going to do it that way or I'm going to live bet. But I don't know, because we liked Australia coming into this, and I feel like, in some respect, it kind of got unlucky with shooting against Canada, where Lou Dort, RJ Barrett, and Dylan Brooks shoot 50% from three combined. Like those three guys. We've watched them in the NBA, and like that, I don't know if this is going to happen again in the tournament.
Yeah.
But their wing defense was also very good in that game, and I could see that being a problem for Australia if they were to rematch. So, but Serbia doesn't have that. Serbia is a different type of team. Serbia is going to try to bully them down low. I looked at Bogdan Bogdanovic, because if you think this is a game that Nikola Jokic turns into a passer again, which I thought South Sudan could have been, and it wasn't. But if you think that's going to be the case, then hey, Bogdan Bogdanovic is somebody who can rain threes, and we'll see, because I think he'll get some pretty good looks against Australia. He's 5-1 to get 25 points. I think that's a swing that's interesting. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way there, but I think it's interesting.
It's definitely interesting, especially when you look at what Australia has on the table. Their biggest thing defensively has been that they do have a little bit of length. They do have some athleticism, but Bogdanovic is he's not a small guy. He's a pretty big dude. We know he can get his own shot, and he's slippery. Him and Jokic have great rapport together. Jokic does tend to find him on the perimeter. So especially coming off that really, really hot game, I don't hate that either. When you're looking at, a little bit of a long shot for that game. The reason I asked you though, do we think that Serbia can win is you have to, the United States has beat them twice, right? So we're kind of, let's just assume, we'll get to this game later, but let's just assume that the United States beats Brazil. I don't think that that's a crazy assumption to make.
Basketball, yes.
Yeah.
They would absolutely. Soccer?
Not soccer, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, look, so Serbia, that means Serbia is basically going to play realistically in the bronze medal game. Do you want Serbia at plus 250 to win the bronze? Because I kind of like Serbia off of almost any team on the other side of the bracket, I think. Because I think that they match up well with, even I think Germany's the best team on the other side of the bracket. I think they match up well with them. I think they definitely match up well with Canada. I think they match up well with pretty much every team on the other side. Is that something that maybe you'd be interested in?
I think if you like Serbia, that's the way to play it. I think if you like Serbia to win the game, do that. Just bet them to win the bronze medal at that point, to your point. What was that number again? It was 250?
Plus 250. Yeah, because you're getting them right now. Serbia is, what are they right now for this game? They are minus 290. So you're getting minus 290. You figure USA is going to be a significant favorite. Team USA is going to be minus
double digits.
They're going to be a double-digit favorite. They've won twice now against Serbia. Obviously there's going to be some different things, and we'll have the opportunity to talk about it in the future, but you figure it's minus 290, minus 700 maybe, and then you're going to get Serbia in a game that they actually might be favored. So you might be getting all minus numbers on a little bit of a parlay.
Yeah, if you play it out, you're going to get Serbia in a bronze medal game, because we're having them lose to Team USA in the next round.
Yeah. So I'm speculating some numbers. If you did, using one of our tools on the Action Network website, and I'm using the betting odds calculator, just shooting from the hip a little bit. If you do minus 300, minus 700, because that would be the Team USA money line, and then say minus 150 for Serbia, you're looking at plus 154. If you think Serbia might be a dog at plus 150, then you're losing a little bit of value. You're at plus 280 or so, but it just kind of depends on the path. It depends on the situation. I think that Serbia with Jokic probably is favored in a lot of these games in a bronze medal spot.
You have to feel at least pretty good about Serbia with Nikola Jokic beating the loser of Canada and Germany.
Yeah.
Which it would likely be. Now, listen, this game is next. We're going to hit it to close. Well, not to close, because we still have USA's game. But France versus Canada. Canada should win that game. I think if you're somebody who's looking to bet Serbia bronze medal, as we're talking about, you may be a little worried about that, but the number's good enough, and Serbia has enough to where, like, I don't think Canada, while more talented, I don't think they're appreciably better. And Serbia
Yep.
also has the best player in that game. And Bogdan Bogdanovic, honestly, like you're not going that far until you're getting to his name, and then you look at some of the other guys on Serbia's team, like, and if France pulls off the minor upset, if we want to call it that, at home, by the way, so not unfeasible, but if it's France, I personally feel better about Serbia against France than I do against Canada.
Yeah. So I think it's a perfect time to kind of transition into this game. So Canada is minus 7.5 points against France. Are you cooking in any, like, are you cooking in any home court? Like, do you think that if this was I don't want to call it neutral, but like if this was not in France, do you think this would be like basically a minus 9.5, minus 10? Or do you think that this line isn't really encapsulating that like we've seen the French crowd get into these games. So
Yeah.
like that's one of the things that I don't know if that's totally being cooked in properly here, because I don't think that Canada is like a 10-point favorite over France.
I don't, but Canada beat France by 30 in the World Cup last year.
Yeah.
So, like, that no Victor Wembanyama, no Bilal Koulibaly, no Frank Ntilikina, no Jamal Murray for Team Canada. There were a couple other lesser changes, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
30 points. And that was a game where the athleticism was bothersome for France. The defense, you saw it right away. It was crazy defensive pressure, but it wasn't in France. Home court advantage, I don't think is nothing, but France, the women's team, really had that place going, lost to Australia. Australia was very desperate, to their credit, and they're a better team than they've shown. They had that upset loss to Nigeria. They needed this to move on. They did that. And then France, that crowd was going crazy for the men's game against Germany, and they got their ass whooped. So I don't really know what to do with this number, the line, home court, any of those things. To me, I just went France total team under because their offense, we have like a long track record now of their offense being out of sync. And by long track record, I don't mean this tournament plus the scrimmages. I mean last year's World Cup. France offense hasn't looked good internationally in 2 years.
Yeah.
The last time that they've looked good offensively was in Eurobasket in 2022. So I think that total team under 78.5 points. They've been under that twice. And the only time they got over was an overtime game where they scored 94 points against little ass Japan. Japan is one of the smallest teams in the Olympics. Feisty as hell. That game shouldn't have gone to overtime, and it did. France's offense just hasn't looked good. My only concern is this the game that France finally puts it together, hits a bunch of shots, their offense has some flow to it, but against Canada's defense and the wing defense that I saw shut them down and limit them to 65 points in the World Cup last year, granted with no Victor Wembanyama, but still, I think this is going to be closer to a slugfest than a super up-tempo game.
Yeah, I think that that's right. And that's part of why, like, if I had to pick a side, I'm generally I would lean France. I think that Canada is like the popular pick.
Yes.
I think that my concern with Canada is that, they have a lot of talent and it's all like concentrated at the same positions. So it's hard to really optimize your lineups there and get like your best players on the court for the whole game. One of the biggest things though, when you look at this game, is that both of these teams are playing at like relatively slow paces. If we look at the like international field right now, the best, like the highest in terms of pace is 86.6. France and Canada are at 74.6 and 77.8 respectively. So significantly slower in terms of pace. These are 40-minute games. So that's why we're kind of getting these numbers that you guys probably aren't normally accustomed to hearing, like with numbers in like the 70s and the 80s. But I think this is going to be a slower game. I think that kind of contributes to a little bit more, probably like half court offense, a little bit more opportunities that way. So I do agree with you that like maybe this is the game that France gets it going. And because it's a little bit of a slower paced game, that maybe throws things off Team Canada, who, like they have Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray hasn't really looked great. So you're looking at a team that's relying on Shea, who obviously can do whatever he can do. Relying on RJ Barrett, who kind of had a bad game last time out there. Lou Dort. You're relying on like a lot of shooting variants. But one thing that we have noticed with a guy like Victor Wembanyama for France is that he's been really the hub of the team. And it's been really interesting because there's been some games where his teammates kind of look him off. Like when he's calling for the ball, he's in good position, whatever. But despite that, he still has not been selfish with his opportunities. So I like him to go over 2.5 turnovers. He had 3 against Canada in 25 minutes in the preliminary games, and he's gone over this in 6 of 8 international games so far this year. So the games that he missed at, he had 1 against Germany and he had 2 against Japan. Japan, he was just absolutely cooking. Like he was the real hub of the offense. They really didn't have an answer for him. And in the game against Germany, he only played 19 minutes. So when we're looking at this, we're seeing him over the course of the actual Olympic tournament, 31 minutes, and 28 minutes. And in those games, he's tallied 3, 2, and 3 turnovers. So I think that at the end of the day, he's going to be the hub of the offense. I was a little hesitant to bet the assists because that was the other kind of angle that I was looking at for him. But at the end of the day, I think that this is a tougher matchup, like you said, for some of his teammates to maybe score on the perimeter. So he could have some bad passes. He could get some passes intercepted when you have like really aggressive guard play from guys like Shea or Lou Dort, just jumping a passing lane. And then he can always just, have a bad pass, dribble off his leg, anything. So I like him to go over 2.5 turnovers here in the spot against Team Canada. Now this takes us to our final game of the quarterfinals, which not the most exciting game for in terms of what like the spread is going to be or anything like that. But Team USA has allowed lesser teams to stay in games. Team USA is minus 27 versus Brazil. Brazil has been pesky. What do you think about this game, Brian? Do you have a lean either way, or are you just saying like, you know what, I'll see you in the semifinals?
Yeah, pass. Just pass. I'm not betting on this game. I wanted Brazil total team under because they can't really score like that. The 102 points against Japan notwithstanding, but having watched Brazil very closely, especially throughout World Cup and Olympic qualifiers, as somebody who wants the Puerto Rican national team to do better, Brazil's a team that you got to keep an eye on because in the Americas, there's only but so many spots for so many teams. Now, with Brazil, I've seen their offense be anemic many times. And then they'll have a game where they just explode from 3 completely randomly. Like it just happens. I've talked about this a few different times. Like they beat Greece in the World Cup in 2019, and it was a low scoring game. They beat Canada. They beat Canada last year in the World Cup that a lot of people kind of forget about, but like they beat Canada last year in the World Cup. That was the thing that happened. And I think both teams were in the 60s by the end of it. I'm not even joking. And then this year they beat Latvia, where that game hit an under, but Brazil scored in the 90s because they just made legitimately every single three that they shot in the first quarter, and it was like 7 or 8 or something along those lines, including a buzzer beater. Like it was a ridiculous performance, and that was in Latvia. So like they just have these games once in a while where they just explode. And the reason I wanted the total team under was because that was at like 80.5 or whatever. And then I look at Team USA and all the teams that they played against have scored 80 or more in the games against them. So I was like, all right, I just threw my hands up and I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I'm passing on this game for now. I'll probably tell you on a prop or two, but like, I think I'm good on Team USA versus Brazil.
No, I totally get it. It's one of those things with Team USA. It's like they've been, I don't want to call them unserious, but it's like they just keep letting teams like in. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've really struggled to find like some consistency. They've really struggled to find what lineups really work well together. And that's always a concern. But I do have a couple props that I like from this game. One of which is I like LeBron James over 12.5 rebounds and assists. Part of why I like this is that we're in a knockout stage. I think that LeBron is going to want to put his stamp on this game. Brazil just doesn't, like, they've been pesky. They've been like annoying. They have nobody they got nobody that's going to defend him properly, I think. And while LeBron still likes to get his lobs, he likes to get his dunks, stuff like that. We've seen him now like consistently in the past, like really over the course of the Olympics. He's not really looking to score. That's not his main thing. Like he'll score if he gets the opportunity for it. If there's like a highlight play, maybe he'll pull up from three, but it's all like relatively rare. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he kickstarts the offense by grabbing the rebounds and on the defensive side of the ball. He gets a lot of those easy rebounds, and then he starts transition offense immediately. He has a lot of turnovers, but as a result of those same turnovers, he's whipping the ball like a football all the way down the court. And he gets a lot of those easy assists. He finds his teammates like when the defenses are a little bit lackadaisical. So I think this game against Brazil, who is the worst team out of all the teams advancing, I guess, them, Greece, whatever, like they're basically the same, but they don't have a guy like Giannis on the team. I like LeBron to go over the 12.5 rebounds and assists. He contributes on both sides of the floor in terms of the rebounds, in terms of the assists. I think that this line could be 13.5. I probably would still take it. If you really want to get funky, you can bet triple double. It's like 30-1. I don't know if he plays enough minutes to get there though. I think maybe we'll see one of those though. I think we might see one of those before the Olympics are over. The other play that I'm looking at is I'm looking at Steph Curry over 2.5 threes. So we did this the other day. And it was actually, I think, the one game that he hit his threes prop against Serbia. He hit it on that electric. It was like at the end of the game, Team USA didn't need to score. And then there was like the little mad scramble for the ball with like 8 seconds left. And Curry chucked up a three and we got it, right? He's still getting volume. So he's taken 7 threes, 6 threes, and 6 threes so far during the actual Olympics. But even prior to that, he was 1 for 7 against Germany, 3 for 9 against South Sudan. And he just has continued to take a ton of threes, right? So part of why I like this, though, is when we look at the shot profile that Brazil is allowing in the game against Japan. Japan took 41 threes. That was more than they took more threes than twos. When they played France took 25 threes. France is not like the happiest 3-point shooting team. They took 27 shots from 2-point range, 25 shots from 3-point range. When they played Germany, another team that's not like a super 3-point heavy team, Germany took 32 threes compared to 30 shots in 2-point range. So this to me is like a really good matchup for Curry. You're getting this at about standard odds. You can actually find it a little bit shorter than that too in the market. So Dennis Schroeder ripped him apart. And I think this is probably the only time Dennis Schroeder is ever going to be compared to Steph Curry, but Dennis Schroeder's not afraid to pull up and shoot threes. Our guy went 3 for 4 from 2, 4 for 9 from 3-point range. Curry can beat that. Like Curry can do that. I know that there's more mouths to feed. I know that Schroeder plays about 10 more minutes than Curry, but greatest shooter of all time. I think this is going to be an opportunity where the actual offensive process that Team USA runs is finally going to click, and Curry's going to be able to get some of these good looks, get some of these good opportunities. I like him to go over 2.5 threes. I don't mind 4 either. Like I'm waiting for the Curry explosion game, and this feels like that game is like right. This matchup against Brazil seems to be the right one for me. So I like Curry over 2.5 threes.
Yeah, Iago dos Santos, I think, will be chasing him around, who's maybe 5'10". That's the other thing about this with the LeBron rebounds assist one that I'm likely going to tell you on in particular that I really like is Brazil's not a huge team either. They can play big, and look, their defense is feisty. It wouldn't surprise me if Team USA has a cold shooting performance, at least in the first half. Like, I'm not going to necessarily take Brazil to cover in the first half because they very much struggle to score the ball against any type of team. Team USA is obviously going to defend well, or at least try to. At times in this game, they probably won't consistently because, again, teams have gotten overs against them. But, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Team USA to generate good offense in this game. And with the LeBron prop, I think he's, we hammered him for assist leader before this whole thing started. And every day I say, like, I wish I put more on it. I actually haven't checked the leaderboard where he's at in a while, but
He's up pretty high. If you keep talking, I'll get it.
so LeBron basically, like, I mean, when this whole thing started, he was at plus 450 to lead the team in assists. He was second to Tyrese Halliburton, who was plus 400.
That was insane.
And we were like, no way.
Yeah,
like, Tyrese Halliburton's not going to play that much.
No, so
LeBron's going to have the ball all the time.
Yeah, so LeBron's got 22 dimes. He's tied for really like third in terms of the overall assist leaderboard. Dennis Schroeder's got 27.
I meant for just Team USA.
No, I know. I'm saying even the whole thing. The next closest on Team USA is Devin Booker, who's got 13. So LeBron's got 9 more than Booker. It's a pretty good situation for us with our nice LeBron bet over there. But he's really just been dominant. He's averaging 7.7 assists per game. So he's been awesome. And some of that comes with the turnovers, but at the same time, Team USA can kind of afford it for what he's providing to the offense. So I think it's going to be a fun game. And at that point, we'll also be able to see a little bit of like how the bracket's unfolding. I will say one prop that I am on the lookout for is I'm looking for a Derek White steals plus blocks for this game. I don't know what it's going to be at, but I think Derek White is one of those guys that is going to continue to just see minutes. I've been waiting to see if they'll pop him. So, because we put it out on social media, we put out Derek White to be the steals leader and the blocks leader. I took him individually for Team USA, and we got steals at 8-1, blocks at 10-1. He's one back in blocks. He's tied for the lead in steals, I think, or he might have the lead by 1 in steals. I want to see if they open up a market for top total steals in the tournament. I'm very interested in Derek White for that market. I think that he's going to be somebody that in all of these matchups continues to play. He's not somebody in like this bench unit that I think is going to like suffer from a matchup. I think that we're going to see plenty of Derek White in a lot of lineups, like probably 20 minutes a game, even if some other players wind up getting cut in terms of their minutes, depending on the matchup. So hopefully we get a line for that. Anthony Edwards is the favorite right now at one, like in the market right there. I'm seeing a plus 400, but he's also favored over Derek White in the individual team market as well. So I'm hoping that maybe we get a nice line for Derek White if we ever are able to get it populated there.
Where is he in terms of steals and blocks right now for Team USA? Because I know steals leader was plus 800 and blocks was, I want to say it was at least 1,000.
So right now he's tied with Anthony Edwards with 6 steals for the lead on Team USA, and for the blocks he is. Let's see. I know he's up too. There,
but Drew didn't play last game also, so we have to see. That's another thing. I wonder if
he's got 3 blocks. Anthony Davis has 4. Joel Embiid also has 3. So, it's really not crazy for him to get that just based on the way that he plays. Get a lot of those like strip steal blocks that could kind of be either. It just kind of depends on the way that the scorer
Fred
is
Van
scoring them. Yeah, the Fred Van Vliet. So
if he's guarding Yago dos Santos and Marcelinho Huertas, I probably feel good about that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping we see a steals plus blocks line somewhere. He's just been awesome for Team USA. So, Brian, when we look at this right now, looking at the quarterfinals, just off the rack, who are your 4 that are getting through?
USA, Germany, Canada, Serbia? It feels too chalky to just take all 4 favorites. One of them has to lose. So I'll say it this way. I'm most confident in USA, Germany. You're not going to get me off of those 2. I am open to France or Australia potentially winning. I want to say that France, I would put them ahead of Australia in terms of likeliness, but a lot would have to come together that just hasn't come together in 2 years internationally for them. Like even in the scrimmages, they lost like 4 straight. So I would probably rock with Australia there because I'm not sure. I think Serbia is better, but I don't know if they're 7 points better. And I don't know if like they're a set it and forget it. Serbia is definitely going to win this game type of better. Whereas Canada, I've seen them demolish this team before, again, without Victor Wembanyama. But even with Victor Wembanyama, France has been disappointing in this tournament. And I would say even Victor Wembanyama hasn't been as awesome
Yes.
as people probably expected so far. So
No, I'm 100% with you there. I think I would rank it similarly. I think that honestly, to me, Canada, I think is slightly more likely to get upset than Serbia, and it's really just based on like the style of play, like because Canada. Obviously, they can take a lot of threes if they want to, but I do, you do have a lot of guys that want to get to the rack. And when you have Victor, when you have Rudy, I think it does make it a little bit more difficult. So I'm curious to see, and especially if it's a slower pace game, if it's a slugfest, that's where those games kind of get interesting for the underdogs, just based on like a little bit of variance because the pace is a little bit slower. If you can jack up the variance, then you have a little bit better, like a little bit more of an edge. Whereas I don't think the best version of Australia doesn't play slow. And if you play fast with Jokic, he's going to cook you. So that's kind of what my concern is there for Australia. One thing I wanted to touch on before we got to you, I know you have some angles that you want to bet on. Actually, no, we'll get into it. Tell me what you like for Germany here, because I see that you got a couple angles that you like for Germany.
yeah, and I wonder, like, how should we play this? Because we both like Germany. And we already have a Europe to win the Olympics ticket just in case.
Yeah.
This plus 500 that I don't feel as good about now just because France has been so disappointing. But it's still a Germany. You're still getting half the field. You're getting half the quarterfinals. And it's going to be, Germany and Greece. That's going to give you one, hopefully Germany, because I don't have as much faith in Greece. And then you have, France, Canada. Like there's a world where it's actually USA, Serbia, France, and Germany, and it's like, hey, you never know, and that's what we're saying to ourselves. So maybe 2 or 3 of those teams at least sort of get us there, and then we could sort of evaluate from there. But Germany specifically is a team that we feel best about of the European teams left and of everybody left outside of Team USA, frankly. Like we both have them slightly ahead of Canada. You maybe more than slightly. So there's Germany at one spot is to medal at minus 146. So it's a little juiced, but we strongly think they're going to medal. And it's like, I think that's probably still worth something even at minus 146. Winner without is plus 155, the exact same as Canada. Winner without is basically like without Team USA, who gets the furthest, and at that point it's like just bet them to win silver, which is a plus 175, which is I think how you should play that anyway. And then to win gold, better than our plus 500 Europe bet, Germany's plus 850.
Yeah.
Does anything there interest you at all?
So I think I'd be interested. The problem is, like, I don't think that I would like them against Team USA. Like, I don't think that I would love the matchup just based on what I think Team USA can do on the interior with whether it's Embiid, Anthony Davis, or even Bam Adebayo. Like that's a little bit of my concern there. And I think that there's enough switchy defenders that Team USA has to throw at, like, if you put, like, Dennis Schroeder's been awesome. We're going to put Drew Holiday and Derek White on him. It's going to be a problem. Like it's going to be a problem. So that's kind of my concern there. I will say, I think that they medal. I think that they would be able to take care of business against like anybody basically in like the third. And I guess really what it is that I like Germany out of that part of the bracket. So for me, I think that your best bet, like you kind of mentioned, is for them to win silver at plus 175. I want to give a little bit of hesitation on these like winner without markets.
Yes, me too.
So one of the things with winner without is like it's winner without Team USA. You just shouldn't be betting it on Serbia, Brazil, or Australia. Brazil makes no sense.
Or Greece.
Yeah. So, I was going to say, fair. But I'm just saying from like a numbers perspective, it just doesn't make sense to bet on anybody on the same side of the bracket as Team USA. Because you basically have to, Brazil has to go through Team USA. There's no way that they can get to the championship without beating Team USA in this opening game, a game that it's tough to even find a money line price for. So there's that, right? Then even if Team USA gets through, if you bet on, say, Serbia or Australia, they have to beat Team USA to get to the final, you still have to win the final. So the only way that you're avoiding Team USA is if they got bumped by Brazil. So you really shouldn't be betting that, and you're giving up like half of your value by betting that market with those teams. So like, please don't do that. I don't just please don't do it. And then honestly, like if you're betting it like the winner without from the other side of the bracket, like the Germany, the Greece, Canada, France part of the bracket, I think that you could just bet to medal. You could just bet to win silver. I think there's a little bit more like creative ways to go about it. You could bet some exactas. I just don't really love the winner without market. I think that
Me neither.
I think that you're giving up too many options. And really the only way, like, and that could wind up not even being enough, right? Like you could just be giving up all your value if, say, Team USA gets upset by Brazil, Serbia, or Australia, where you'd much rather have like a plus for Germany, like a plus 850 to win gold type of ticket. So that's my hesitation. That's like my word of warning with these winner without bets.
Yeah, I think the exactas are interesting. But I think right now, if you're looking at futures, you're just basically looking to fade Team USA at this point because Team USA is now minus 550 to win the gold medal. And I said it before the tournament started. It's like, I think there's potential profit in fading them, but I still think they're going to win the tournament. It's just a matter of like what you're betting on is like shit happens. It's March Madness, like the world has gotten closer, very close. And I think after the Brazil game, Team USA is actually going to be pushed in the semifinals against a better Serbia team than I think the one that we saw in the opener. Like I think the disparity in the shooting was just crazy, and I don't. If
and
that
Jokic
happens again,
plays
then
more.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Jokic and better.
Yeah. Like because he played 31 minutes. Like he's probably gonna play more than that, honestly.
Yeah.
So
and if it's Australia's tough, but particularly the other side. But yeah.
I think it's gonna be a fun tournament. This is really where the games are like you gotta set that alarm clock. Like you want to wake up, you want to watch these games. These games are gonna be a lot. These games are gonna be a lot of fun. So luckily my son is my alarm clock. So it's been going all right so far. But look, that'll do it for this episode of Buckets presented by BetMGM. Be sure to download the Action Network app, and don't forget to check out the Buckets WNBA podcast feed for our episode on the women's quarterfinals. For Brian Fonseca, I'm Joe Delara. Thanks for listening, and as Matt Moore loves to say, let's get buckets.